What's going on, everybody? Ryan Pineda here. So as you can see from the title of this video, I have tested positive for the Rona. And I'm actually really surprised it took this long since I'm just so out and about all the time. I travel a lot, I'm near people, I'm in meetings. There's a whole bunch of things that I do that, expose me to a lot of risk. And, like I said, I'm surprised it took this long, but, it is what it is and comes with just part of the job of what I do. But nonetheless, hopefully you can see from this video that I'm in great shape. I feel really good. In fact, I was working out right before this. As you can see, I was shooting some hoops. I was doing some pull-ups, some push-ups, all in the same exact outfit, so don't judge me on that. I'm thankful that I'm one of the people that aren't affected by it too much. It's been 4 days since our positive test. And yes, I said our because Mindy has tested positive as well. She's also in great shape. They did not test the kids because they said that if the parents test positive, it's most likely that the kids are too. And as long as they're not showing symptoms, they don't really need to be tested. So we're all in quarantine together as a family. So we definitely appreciate your prayers. We appreciate all your support. And, I'm just happy that we're all in good health despite testing positive. But anyways, the point of this video obviously is to let you guys know that we're doing good, that we're in quarantine, but also I wanted to share some things that I've learned from going through this. So being back in quarantine has allowed me to actually sit down and think about what I want to do. And I'm actually thankful for it because last quarantine has led to so many awesome things. For those of you who have been following me from the beginning of this YouTube journey, I started posting in May. And if you were part of that journey, you know that this was the background I posted my very first video on because my office was locked down, so I had to post everything from home. And it's pretty tough posting from home because we've got distractions, I've got dogs, I've got all this other stuff going on. But to look back at those first videos and to see where I'm at now, just 7 months later, it's pretty crazy to think about. I remember I had a goal when I made that first video and I had almost no subscribers that, man, if I could get to 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year, it would be insane. And at the time of filming this right now, I have almost 70,000 subscribers. So it's pretty surreal to think about how far it's come since then. And to be completely honest with you guys, I didn't think there was any way I could get to 50,000 subscribers. I had an idea of how hard it was to grow a YouTube channel, just talking to other people and seeing how big theirs are. And to me, that was a BHAG. And if you don't know what that is, that's a big, hairy, audacious goal. Jim Collins talks about it in Good to Great. You should read that book. But anyways, it's happened and it's been crazy. So to be back here filming again just really gives me that deja vu and like reliving what it was like thinking, man, if I could do this, it'd be great. And now that I have done it, it's amazing. But here's where it gets crazy, is that none of that would have happened if I didn't go into quarantine. The only reason that I got on YouTube and I got on TikTok was because I was stuck in the house with nothing to do. I couldn't go to my office. I couldn't really go to projects. I couldn't do much other than figure out what's my next move gonna be? I was questioning where the real estate market was going. Nobody really knew. And then I just really said, what other avenues are out there right now that I don't know about? And many people had told me about YouTube and TikTok. And so I used my quarantine to learn the game of YouTube and TikTok. I remember I would watch tons of videos for hours every day while I was working out in the house, while I was just chilling. And that was my time to do it because I was too busy doing other things before the lockdown. So the lockdown actually did help me out a lot. And so going from that lockdown and seeing the success the last 6 months it brought me, I need to figure out what can I do this time being locked down, this time being quarantined? What can I learn that I don't know? And the answer to that has actually become very clear. Are you guys ready for it? Podcasting. So I'm using this quarantine to figure out how to launch my podcast in 2021. A podcast is something that I have always wanted to do because I just love listening to them. I've learned so much about real estate from podcasts, so much about business, self-development, everything. And we all know that people are transitioning from radio to podcast. And it's pretty much the only social media type platform that I'm not currently on. So for this quarantine, I have been watching a ton of YouTubes and doing a ton of research on how to launch a podcast. What are the best practices? What don't I know yet? I mean, it's easy to just go pick up a mic and start talking, that's easy. But there's so many things behind the scenes that lead to a successful launch. What kind of category should you be in? How long should the podcast be? What kind of content should we talk about? Should I have a co-host? What kind of guests should I have? Should they be only in-person interviews? These are all the things that I'm thinking about. And I actually want to hear your feedback in the comments below. What kind of podcast would you like to see from me? Do you want long form, like over an hour, Joe Rogan style? Would you like some small daily podcasts, maybe like 10 minutes of just, raw, unfiltered talk, maybe going over the news, going over current events, or just whatever it is I'm feeling like talking that day? Would you like to see some type of co-host who's a lot different than me to get another perspective on things? As far as subjects go, which kind of content would you like to hear? Personally, I'm not going to talk about real estate only in podcast. I think I've got too many other things I love talking about. I've got too many guests I want to interview that are experts in so many different fields. So I have no intention of making it a real estate only podcast. And in fact, that's why I really like Joe Rogan's style, because he's willing to interview almost anyone in any industry. But the thing I don't like is that he has to interview people for his podcast. I personally don't want to be hunting down guests every day. I'd like the freedom to just jump on the mic and do a solo podcast if and when I want to. But these are all the things I'm exploring as I develop it in my mind. I actually just bought a ton of equipment for the podcast, and I want to give a shout out to Omar from Think Media for helping me figure out what equipment I need. I've got my buddy building out a big L-shaped table for me, so we're going to really make the set amazing. If you're going to do it, you got to do it right. That's how I feel about it. So yeah, I'm really excited. I'm really deep into it right now. My goal would be to launch it sometime in January. And being quarantined away from the office gives my GC some time to go fix up my office and renovate it the way I need it. And a lot of people have already asked me, Ryan, why don't you have a podcast already? How are you doing all this content but no podcast? Why not just rip all your YouTube videos and put it on podcast? You could easily do that. And I actually talk about this in my social media academy. So for those of you who don't know, I just launched an online course detailing exactly how I put out so much content on all the various platforms, how we make money from them, how we funnel traffic into our business, how we create products, all that stuff. And if you're interested in it, definitely go check it out in the link below. But what I say in the academy is this: you need to have 1 to 2 core platforms. And so whatever those core platforms are, you need to focus 100% on those. Because if you try and focus on everything like YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, podcasts, you try and focus on everything, you'll fail. The best people dominate one platform, maybe 2, and then they push that traffic to the other platforms. And so for me, the last 6-7 months, I've solely been focused on YouTube and TikTok. And because I only focused on those, they grew tremendously. But I also was able to use the content from those and put them on Instagram, put them on Facebook, put them on LinkedIn. And those have also grown as a result. And in turn, everything grew because I only focused on 2 platforms. And yes, I could have repurposed this content and put it on my podcast, but I feel that podcast is one of those platforms where if you go really hard at it and you create its own unique content, it could just explode. And you've seen it with Joe Rogan signing for $100 million with Spotify. You've seen people like Addison Rae and her mom get their own podcast. You've seen a lot of people who are famous because of podcast, and then they push their podcast traffic to Instagram, YouTube, whatever. So my hope is that since I have grown my audience now on YouTube, on TikTok, on Instagram, the moment I launch this podcast, we should have some great momentum because my following is so much bigger than it was 6 months ago. And it's really important to have a good launch with a podcast because it allows you to get on the new and noteworthy section. So with all that being said, that is why I don't have a podcast as of now. I've been just trying to build up my following on the other platforms, establish myself there, then use the momentum and launch the podcast. And I think the momentum is now at the point where it makes sense. So all that being said, I'm always going to make the best of my situation. So if I'm going to be locked up in quarantine for the next 2 weeks, I'm going to do something that I wouldn't have done if I was in my normal routine. And since I'm not in the office, it's a great time to renovate it and get it ready for this podcast. It's a great time for me to learn about podcasting, and that's exactly what I'm doing. And as I said before, I really do appreciate every single one of you who have reached out, letting us know that you're praying for us. We do appreciate it, and I do believe that's why we are beating this, and we're very healthy right now because of all of your prayers. So thank you guys. And as far as the podcast goes, as I said before, I would love to hear you in the comments below. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you'd like to see in a podcast. I'd love to hear your ideas. Nothing is set in stone at this point. As you guys know, I'm all about trying new things, so I am open to many ideas. And lastly, I just want to thank all of you who have been with me, especially those who've been with me from the beginning, those who recognize this set behind me. It is surreal to think about how far this channel has come since I started it in May, and to just see the growth. And I can't imagine what it's going to look like in 2021. And it's just all thanks to you guys for viewing, subscribing. You're making YouTube push it out to more people. So I just really do appreciate everyone who's been a subscriber. And if you're not a subscriber yet, make sure you hit the subscribe button because it helps out. It helps more people see this. Anyways, that's all I got. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for the prayers. Until next time, see ya.